Let's get you the latest on the peace efforts in South Sudan now. Reports indicate that the permanent ceasefire reached between President Salva Kiir and opposition leader Riek Machar has already been violated. Military officials say at least 16 civilians have been killed in the Greater Upper Nile region. Both parties are trading accusations. The army claims rebels attacked government positions in the early hours of Sunday morning, but Machar's supporters have accused the army of breaking the ceasefire on Saturday, just hours after it came into effect. Well, earlier we spoke to Peter Biar Ajak, the chairperson of the South Sudan Young Leaders Forum, about the latest ceasefire violation. We started by asking him if this is just another dream deferred for South Sudanese.
No, absolutely not. I was not hopeful at all for three main reasons. First, this was not the first time that the leaders of South Sudan have signed ceasefires. They have signed many since the war broke out, and none of these ceasefire agreements have held. Second, the recent ceasefire that they signed in Khartoum was not sufficiently inclusive. It focused mainly on the government and the main rebel faction of Riek Machar. But these are not the only warring faction in South Sudan. There are many other rebel groups that were not included in the peace talks, and they were not part of the agreement. And as a result, this was not an inclusive agreement that was expected to be implemented by any way whatsoever. And finally, when you read the agreement very closely, it's not really about ending the fighting in South Sudan. It was more about Khartoum government trying to further its own agenda, particularly if you read the Article 5 that talks about the oil and how the security of oil in South Sudan is a responsibility of all citizens. This is not the case. The responsibility is for the government of South Sudan. And they also talk about South Sudan inviting Sudan back in to help it to secure the oil fields. So I was very skeptical of this agreement from the first day it was signed. What South Sudan needs in order to secure lasting peace is for the people of South Sudan to be in the center of any peace deal that brings peace to the country. So far we have been relying on the leaders and for leaders to sign an agreement that they can implement. But we have seen time and again that the leaders of South Sudan are unable to honor their commitments, they are unable to honor their words, and we have realized that they cannot bring any real peace. So what is needed is for people of South Sudan to take the matters into their own hands and to organize themselves so that they are able to bring about the peace that they deserve. In regard to the South Sudan Vision 2040, this document, when it was written, I participated in it because that's the time when I was still at the World Bank. And from the day one, this vision has never been implemented. All the leaders of South Sudan from that day, when the Vision 2040 was approved, they basically shelved it. It was not part of the budgeting processes. It was never part of anything that South Sudan government did. So from the first day, they were never really serious about implementing this vision. And this is why you have seen that the country has lost track